Hello and welcome to your screencast for Personal and Professional Development 2. This is your second screencast for assignment support. So I'm just going to talk you through the template and the structure of the assignment, and also some ideas on how to link in the learning outcomes. So if you go into your assets, I've got quite a few, so I'll just search HCPC. There it is. So the first page is summary of recent work practice. So if anybody's ever written a CV, you would do it similar to what you've probably written in there. So it says only discuss work practices relevant to your OT degree. So you might want to put in there placement experiences that you've had, maybe volunteer roles that you've had. So the way I would do it is I would write in there the job title. So let's say Volunteer Age UK, and write the date, September, let's say. And then job role, and list the job roles that was involved, and do it that way. So that's your first one done. And then we're going into the standards now. So these standards are standards that we've actually taken directly from the Healthcare Professions Council, and these are standards that all OTs have to meet in order to maintain their professional registration. And what happens is people are called sort of randomly, so they can be picked at any point, and they're then asked to evidence that they can meet that they are meeting these standards. So your first one is maintaining a continuous and up-to-date record of CPD activity. So as students, this won't be a problem for you. You're continuously doing continual professional development with the lectures that you attend, the workshops that you do, placements, if you attend shout events or anything sort of CPD related, there'll be lots of things that you can write. So what it's important that you remember is that you've got to weave in the learning outcomes into these standards. So we've put them in the template just as a reminder really. So as you're talking about it, you need to weave in these learning outcomes. So your first one, identify and explain transferable skills of an occupational therapist and reflect on their application in different settings. So you might want to think about all these skills. We did a session on transferable skills, so you might want to think about some of them. We also did a skills audit, so think about them and think about your development and application of them. Examine and reflect on the influence that you have on those around you. So that could be you might have done some group work activities or something like that where you've taken a lead role. You might want to reflect and think about experience you've had maybe in interprofessional education, or group work activities that you've done on the OT course, or where you've had to work as a group and maybe then do presentations. That would be something you'd be thinking about there. And also articulating your role as an occupational therapist. So if you remember, we did that marketing session where you had to ring up and then ask what attributes people want, but then you had to explain the role of OT. And I'm sure as well you'll have had to do that in your extended scope placement. So there should be lots of things that you can think of there to show that you've maintained continuous and up-to-date record of CPD. So that's standard one. Standard 2, you must identify that your CPD activities are a mixture of learning activities relevant to current or future practice. So again, thinking about all your module outcomes, think about anything that you've done or experienced that you can evidence as a CPD activity and learning activity. So again, you might want to think about lectures you've attended, or sessions you've attended, or group work activities, things you've done on placement. So that's for that standard. And standard 3. Registrant must seek to ensure their CPD has contributed to quality of practice and service delivery. So for this one, you might want to think about the manual handling training that you've attended. It might be a session that you've attended that's then made you reflect and think about your practice and how you are as an occupational therapist. It might be that you attended a session and it made you reflect on some of the skills or attributes that you've got that you feel you want to improve or work upon. So anything where you feel that whatever CPD activity you've done, that it's actually contributed to the quality of how you are as an OT and how you practice as an OT. It might be reflections that you've written that's then made you think about your practice. And standard 4, a registrant must seek to ensure that your CPD has benefited the service user. So I know in your extended scope placement you've got to come up with an intervention, and that's a great example of how them interventions have hopefully benefited people who do it. It might be group work, or it might just be a one-on-one intervention that you've done that's actually benefited that person. It'd be great here if, while you're out on placement, if you actually got service user feedback. So after your sessions or after your intervention, ask them, or if you've taken outcome measures where you've actually seen an improvement, that would be great. So what people usually find quite difficult with this is when they're talking about the standards, it's remembering to integrate and include the learning outcomes. So what I would do if I was writing this assignment, I would after I'd written it, I would copy and paste it into a Word document, or I'd print it out, and I would highlight where I've linked it to learning outcomes. So I'd have a green colour for the first learning outcome, blue for the whatever colour, so a different colour for each learning outcome, and I would colour code it and go through and see where you've actually linked it to each learning outcome, and make sure you've got a good sort of balance between them all. So that might be helpful, because I know it can be quite difficult writing about the standards and also weaving in the learning outcomes. So that's how I would do it. Just also as well, please use the discussion board. So myself and Kat have set up a discussion board. So if you go to the PPD2 Blackboard site and go to discussions, you'll find under there assignment support. So you can write any questions or queries on there, and we've had a few already actually, and even if you don't write anything, you can go in and have a look at what people have written and what our responses have been. Please do this rather than email, because it's very hard when we're responding to individual emails, and we're usually you're asking the same things. So discussion boards are far more effective way of dealing with sort of queries. And then last but not least, I did mention this on my first screencast. If you make sure that you use the resources tab in Atlas, there's loads of resources here for the HCPC statement, and what's really useful here is a list of examples that HCPC have given for what you can use for sort of CPD activities. It's got a short video there, but it's also got a list of different things. So that's it. I hope that's been useful, and like I say, do use the discussion board, because that can be a really good tool if everyone uses it, and seek support from me and Kat, and also your academic advisor. Alright, good luck with it.